If I told you to think of a random racing game, what would be the first thing that comes to mind? Would it be Forza? Need for Speed? Maybe even Burnout? While these are all fantastic games, for me and many others around the world, it will always be Mario Kart. This series has been around for over 30 years and continues to warm the hearts of millions around the globe. With its iconic characters, simple gameplay, and co-op modes, it's no surprise that it continues to be one of Nintendo's best-selling series. But have you ever wondered where it all started? What was Mario Kart like before the anti-gravity? Before the tricks? And even before everyone's favorite item was introduced? Well, today that's exactly what we're going to find out with Nintendo's Super Mario Kart.
Without further ado, let's start our engines and get right into the history.
Super Mario Kart was produced by none other than Shigeru Miyamoto and directed by Tadashi Sugiyama and Hideki Kono. This project was started from Nintendo's idea of creating a racing game, different from their recent racing hit F-Zero. They wanted to make a game that had two players on the screen simultaneously, a game that was fun, easy to understand, and most importantly, enjoyed by anyone. While F-Zero is a great game, it's both single player and somewhat difficult for new players, so they got to work. During development, the game was made to use Mode 7 graphics, just like F-Zero did, which is what gives both F-Zero and Super Mario Kart a 3D appearance while playing the game, when it's really not 3D at all. Even though it may not have aged the best, it looks super impressive for the time it was released, and was definitely part of the reason the game was just so successful. Interestingly enough, in the beginning of the development process, the game was never actually meant to be a Mario game at all. At first, they had generic-looking racers driving the karts around. That is, until the team had a single thought that would change everything. What would it look like if Mario was driving the kart? Without this change, it may have just been another racing game. Maybe Mario Kart would have never existed at all. After some time, Super Mario Kart was officially released in August of 1992 for the Super Famicom, and was a massive success, becoming the fourth best-selling game on the console. Even today, millions of people praise it for all it's done, for not only the Mario Kart series, but the racing genre as a whole. With the history completed, let's finally see what makes this game just so special.
Super Mario Kart at its core may seem like another racing game, but in reality it's much more than that, and you'll see exactly why that is shortly. The game can be played with either one or two players, as I mentioned before, which is your first barrier to break. Depending on how many players you have, the modes will actually change, with some modes being exclusive to both one player and two player. So let's start with the one player modes, and what better one to start with than the Mario Kart GP. In this mode, you and 7 CPUs compete in a cup with the goal of winning first place overall. Before starting the race, there are a few important things that need to be decided. First is deciding what CC you'll race with, which for those who don't know stands for cubic centimeters. This number indicates the size of the engine you're using, with the higher the number bringing the faster speeds. The faster the speed everyone is going, the harder the kart is going to be to control, making the higher CCs more challenging overall. You have 3 different options to choose from, those being 50cc, 100cc, and lastly 150cc, which isn't unlocked at first. This is earned by getting the gold trophy on every cup in 100cc difficulty, which isn't too bad. Next, you have to pick your character from the 8 total to choose from, which we will discuss more in detail later. Finally, you must pick the cup you want to play on. In total, there are 4 different cups to choose from, each having 5 races within them. Those being the Mushroom Cup, Flower Cup, Star Cup, and finally the Special Cup, which is also locked from the start. And this can be earned by winning the gold trophy in the previous 3 cups. However, 50cc for some reason only has 3 cups instead of 4, which is strange. Later on we will dive into the individual tracks themselves, but for now we will move on. After selecting these 3 options, you can finally start the race. When the first race of the cup starts, you are defaulted to last place, and must wait for Lakitu's countdown. Like every game in the series, when starting a race you can actually get a speed boost by accelerating at the correct time during the countdown, but if you fail, you will actually accelerate much slower. In total, there are 5 laps that need to be completed before finishing each race, and achieving your placement. Luckily, the game provides you with many useful tools that can help you win. Let's start with the minimap, which appears at the bottom of your screen. This is extremely helpful for knowing where each opponent is or what might come next on the track.
You can even switch it to a backwards view, which is really nice for when you want to throw items behind you or see just how close someone really is, which I recommend doing a lot. And if someone throws an item at you from behind, it will actually show them doing so from the backwards view automatically. Now, if you're traveling too fast around a corner and don't want to lose your speed, you can do power slides. This is done by hopping into a turn which causes you to start sliding, enabling you to go around hazards or corners in a clean way, keeping your overall speed. Another integral part of the game that can make or break your results is the coin system. These can be found scattered around the track and are picked up after driving over them. These coins actually increase your overall speed. You can hold a ton of them, but the speed increase caps off at 10 coins. However, carrying a lot of coins is not a bad thing, as you do have the ability to lose them in certain scenarios. For example, you lose 4 coins when you're hit by an item, 2 coins if Lapcat has to save you from a disaster, and 1 coin when bumping into another player. It's also important to have coins because if you have 0 and bump into someone, you will actually spin out, potentially costing your placement in a race, so keep an eye on your coin counter. There are also many question blocks around the track that can give you useful items to use, keeping the race dynamic. We will discuss what items you can find and how they work more in detail later, but just be aware that they exist for now. At the end of the race, you must finish in 4th place or higher to avoid being ranked out, which is equivalent to losing a life in other video games. In total, you are given 3 carts which act as your lives, meaning if you lose all your carts, then you're forced to restart the entire cup from the beginning. Funny enough, if a race is going really terribly for you, you can actually give up and use a cart early if you want to restart and save your own time, which I really like. I also want to mention that if you're hurting for carts, you can actually earn one back in the GP, which is done by placing in the same position 3 times, which is hard but definitely possible. Now, if you place between 1st and 4th, you will be moving on to the next race and get points added onto your overall score based on what place you finished in. 1st place gets 9 points, 2nd gets 6 points, 3rd gets 3 points, and finally 4th gets 1 point. You also get to keep your positioning in the next race, which is pretty nice. Meaning if you went in 1st, you'll start the next race in 1st. You also start each race with a set number of coins depending on your ranking. 1st and 2nd place get 2 coins, 3rd and 4th get 3 coins, 5th and 6th get 4 coins, and 7th and 8th get 5 coins. This gives the people in the lower ranks a better chance for making a comeback, thanks to the extra speed. Once all 5 races in the cup are completed, the top 3 racers with the highest scores are awarded the trophies. 1st receives the gold, 2nd receives the silver, and 3rd receives the bronze. If you happen to not score enough points to be on the podium, you instead will be placed next to it. Better luck next time. If you felt that the GP was too easy and you want more of a challenge, you can do a button combo in the character select screen to make your character permanently small. This adds an extra challenge that probably isn't worth it, but it's cool to try out anyways. Now let's talk about the other one-player mode, that being Time Trial. This mode is locked to 100cc by default, so after picking your character and the track, you're all ready to go. In this mode, the course is barren. It's just you competing against yourself for the best time possible on each lap. There are no coins or any items on the track to help you with this either. Even many obstacles on the tracks are missing. After each lap, you are given a time, with the total of all 5 laps adding up at the end to give you your final time. The cool thing is, the game actually keeps track of your best 5 times on each course, even telling you your best time lap, and what characters you use for each attempt. You can even race against your previous ghosts and also watch your replays. I find this mode is especially useful for not only learning the courses better, but also getting a better idea of how the controls work. If the time trials start to feel lonely, you can actually race against a single CPU by using a second controller on the character select screen. However, it's just a ghost, so no need to worry about it messing up your times, as you can't even drive into it. You can also input a button combo when choosing a cup in time trial to unlock the special cup automatically, giving you access to all the tracks right away. Now that we're done talking about the one-player modes, let's get into the two-player modes. The first mode here is once again Mario Kart GP, which functions pretty much the same way as it does in one player. The only difference is, there's one less CPU since you now have a second racer on the track, keeping the total racer count at 8. You may be wondering what happens if someone ranks out or completely runs out of carts in two-player mode. Well, as long as one player finishes in the top 4 places, the race will go on.
However, if both of you place below 4th, the race must be retried at the expense of one kart from each player. And if one player gets a game over, the cup still continues. I also want to mention that in 2-player mode, you may notice right away that there's no minimap. That's because player 2 is now on the bottom screen. It's not a big deal, but I felt it was worth mentioning. The next mode we're going to discuss is Match Race. This is very similar to the Mario Kart GP, except there are only 2 people on the track. Just you and player 2. In this mode, you once again can't pick the CC. However, after you select your character, you get the freedom to pick any track you want to compete on, which is pretty nice. When starting the race, you are both given 3 coins every time, regardless of what place each person finishes in, keeping it competitive. Even though I said there aren't other racers on the track, there is one new obstacle, that being the bullet bills. These move around the course in a pattern, and if you run into them, you're gonna spin out. The game also keeps track of your wins and losses, so you can really figure out who the best racer is between you and your friend. That is, if you're still friends by the end of it. And finally, we have the iconic battle mode. In this mode, you and another player battle it out to see who is the best, as the name implies. However, instead of going head-to-head on the racetrack, you actually fight in an arena, which are called battle courses. Once again, you can't pick your CC here, but once you pick your character and battle course, you're good to go. Each player starts with 3 colored balloons, either red or blue, and your only goal in this mode is to pop each other's balloons with items found around the map. That is, until one person runs out completely. It's a simple concept, but it's such a great mode that is expanded on so well in later entries in the series. Now that we're done talking about the modes in this game, let's discuss something we glossed over a few times: the characters. And in Super Mario Kart, it's more important than you'd probably think. There are 8 playable characters to choose from, all of which appeared in the Mario series at some point in time. Each character has their own strengths and weaknesses assigned to them in groups of 2. Mario and Luigi are classified as the Bros. These 2 have standard performance overall, not amazing or weak in any category necessarily, but where they strive is their speed, definitely a go-to for beginners. Next, we have Donkey Kong Jr. and Bowser, classified as the Showdown. These 2 excel in speed, making them difficult to catch up to once they get going. However, due to this, they aren't the best in acceleration. So once they get hit, it's going to take them a while to get back up to the speed they were at previously. Both these characters are also on the heavier side, making it risky to drive near them. Next, we have Princess Peach and Yoshi, classified as the Dragon and the Lady. These 2 excel in acceleration, allowing them to get back up to speed after taking a hit, much quicker than other drivers do. While handling is their weakest stat, making it harder to control their karts overall. Lastly, we have Toad and Koopa Troopa, which are classified as the small guys. These 2 have amazing handling and acceleration, making them great for maneuvering around most tracks. Thing is, they don't have the best top speed and are also very light.
So they are pretty much the exact opposite of Bowser and Donkey Kong Jr.
Each driver has its good side and bad side, so pick whoever you feel comfortable with, or your favorite character. Now let's discuss the tracks that you're going to be racing on. In total, there are 20 race courses, with some being numbered as the themes tend to repeat. Let's start with Mario Circuit, which is the first track you'll be racing on, and there are 4 variants of this course. This track is nicely paved, without too many things to worry about. However, there are a few obstacles. Here you can run into oil slicks which cause you to spin out, and pipes that stop you in your tracks. The next track you'll race on is Donut Plains, and there are 3 variants of this course.
Although this is one of the prettier tracks, don't get distracted for too long.
Here you can find gophers which latch themselves on you, pools of water, and even more pipes. Next we have Ghost Valley, and there are 3 variants of this course. This is definitely the creepiest track, but it might actually be the safest, as long as you stay on the course, which is harder than it seems, as these walls might fool you. Next we have Bowser's Castle. There are 3 variants of this course, and it's definitely one of the cooler ones. You race on a stone track that's right over a pit of lava, so watch where you're going. You also need to look out for the occasional thwomps, which will flatten you if you aren't careful. Next up is Choco Island, and there are 2 variants of this course. This track is pretty difficult. The chocolate mud causes you to slide around a lot, and piranha plants swarm the course, causing you to spin out. It's like a pipe, but worse. Next up we have Koopa Beach, and there are 2 variants of this course. This one can be confusing, as you're actually able to drive on water, but only sometimes. Any water with a dark color is not safe and is called deep water. If the deep water doesn't mess you up, maybe the flopping Cheep Cheeps will. These make you spin out if you make contact with them. Next, we have Vanilla Lake, and there are also 2 variants of this course. This is one of, if not the hardest track in my opinion. The ice makes it impossible to steer properly. There are water pits you need to avoid full of icy water. Destructible walls like the ones found in Ghost Valley litter the course. And there's even more pipes. Lastly, we have the one and only Rainbow Road. This track is iconic. Your only real obstacle here are the Super Thwomps, which are normal thwomps, but much more dangerous. If you make contact with them, they'll actually cause you to spin out, so be careful.
Another thing worth mentioning is the fact that you can fall off the track at any time.
Now let's talk about some obstacles I didn't bring up that appear on many tracks. First, we have the jump pads. These cause you to hop when you run over them. Hitting them at a higher speed causes you to go even higher and land further, which is really funny at times. And lastly, we have the zipper, which gives you a short speed boost. These are nice, but on some tracks they can mess you up pretty bad. Now let's discuss the battle courses. There are 4 of these and they are labeled Battle Course 1 through 4, each with their own theme. You can choose the theme of Donut Plains, Koopa Beach, Vanilla Lake, or Mario Circuit. These courses all have their own unique layout, similar to their race course counterpart. Now without further ado, let's look at this last section, which is arguably the most important part of Mario Kart. The item system. In Super Mario Kart, items are gathered from running over the question blocks found around the course that I mentioned earlier, and what you get really isn't as random as it might seem. The probability of getting an item is based around your position in the race, meaning the further back you are, the better the items you'll get, and the further up you are, the worse they become. However, in battle mode, the probability is completely random, as there are no positions to be in. Another interesting part about the item system is that some items are actually exclusive to specific modes, and even specific characters when controlled by CPUs. So let's get right into it. The first item we have is the banana peel, which is a staple in the Mario Kart series. This can be thrown forward or behind the player, and causes whoever's unlucky enough to hit it to spin out. This item is also used by Donkey Kong Jr. when he's a CPU. Next, we have the mushroom, which gives the player a speed boost for a short duration, allowing you to travel off-road without losing speed, or even get extra height on a jump. The next item we have is the green shell, which once again can be thrown either in front or behind the player. However, it works a little weird in this entry in the series. When thrown forward, it travels in a straight line and has the ability to ricochet off walls. But when thrown behind the player, it remains stationary, similar to a banana peel, which I find to be pretty interesting. This item is also used by Koopa Troopa as a CPU, but when he uses it, it functions differently as well. When the green shell is thrown forward by Koopa Troopa, it behaves just like a banana peel. Next, we have the red shell, which can only be thrown forward, and targets onto a player ahead. It can't ricochet off walls like the green shell, so you gotta make sure your targets are right in front of you. Next, we have the ghost, which is exclusive to battle mode and match race. This item makes the user disappear for a few seconds, and steals the other player's items. Annoying, right? The next item is the feather. This gives you the ability to jump pretty high, allowing you to hop over hazards, racers, and even perform shortcuts you normally can't do. Next, we have the coin, which can also be found in item boxes. However, when you get the coins from an item box, you get 2 added to the total instead of the 1 you normally get by running over them. Also, this item is not found in battle mode. Next, we have the lightning bolt, which is an awesome item. This shrinks all other racers on the course, making them slow down and able to be spun out when you bump into them. And once again, this item is not found in battle mode. Next, we have the star, which gives you a slight speed boost, the ability to go off-road with no punishment, and invulnerability for a short duration. You can also cause other racers to spin out by running into them. This item is also used by Mario and Luigi as a CPU, but it's not as strong for them. They receive no speed boost and it doesn't last nearly as long. And now we have the fireball, which is used by Bowser as a CPU. These work similarly to banana peels, except they spin in a circle, making them more dangerous. Next, we have the egg, which is an item used by Yoshi as a CPU. This also works exactly the same as a banana peel, except it bounces in place, which is kinda cool. And finally, we have the poison mushroom, which is used by both Peach and Toad as a CPU. This item doesn't move, and if a racer drives into it, they will shrink as if a lightning bolt hit them.
Also, shrunken players need to be careful as they can be flattened like a pancake. Cool thing is, however, if you are already shrunken and run into another mushroom, you can go back to being a normal size. And with that, the items are done. Super Mario Kart may be over 30 years old, but it's special for not just the time, but even now. This game was the start of something beautiful. The start of a series that I can wholeheartedly say means the world to me, and I know I'm not alone. This game may not be perfect, but it certainly is both fun and unique. I recommend this game to anyone curious enough to see what inspired so many great racing games we have today. And with that, the curtain's closed. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and subscribe for more videos like this one. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.